Joe Biden is in, and according to Morning Consult, he opens with an 8-point lead, not just over Bernie Sanders, not just over the Democrats, but over President Trump himself. We will analyze how that shameless liar Joe Biden stands in 2020. Then the mailbag. I'm Michael Knowles. This is The Michael Knowles Show. Huge poll numbers for Joe Biden. Nobody, I think, expected this. On his first day, we expected it to be a big day. But according to Morning Consult and Politico, there was a poll just over the last week of a little under 2,000 registered voters. He is now leading President Trump by 8 points. This is a significant edge over Trump among key demographics, 17 points over women. 17 points over Trump with women voters, 22 points with millennials, 10 points with independents. We will get into how he stands, and we'll get into his shameless, lying, despicable announcement video. But first, admit it, you think cybercrime is something that happens to other people, not you. Nobody wants your data, right? Those hackers, they can't get your passwords and your credit card details. You don't need to spend a very small amount of money to protect your most important data, right? Right? No, you're wrong. Stealing data from unsuspecting people on public Wi-Fi is one of the simplest and cheapest ways for hackers to make money. When you leave your internet connection unencrypted, you might as well be writing your passwords and credit card numbers on a huge billboard for the rest of the world to see. That's why I decided to take action to protect myself from cyber criminals. I use ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN secures and anonymizes your internet browsing by encrypting your data and hiding your public IP address. ExpressVPN has easy-to-use apps that run seamlessly in the background of your computer, phone, and tablet. It's so easy. I know you think you don't need it. I know you think, oh, it's just some little thing protecting. It is the difference between all of your data being exposed and having your data secure. You can safely surf on public Wi-Fi. You won't be snooped on or have your personal data stolen. For less than $7 a month, you can get the same ExpressVPN protection that I have, rated #1 VPN service by TechRadar. Comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Protect your online activity today. Find out how you get 3 months free at expressvpn.com/Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L. expressvpn.com/Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L, for 3 months free with a 1-year package. expressvpn.com/Michael to learn more. What a great day for Joe Biden. What a fabulous open. A lot of people who have been Biden skeptics say that Joe Biden's best day is going to be his first day. Maybe that's true. If that's the case, then he's got a long way to fall before he's having a bad day. This is really good. Among Democrats right now, Joe Biden has about 30%. The number 2 candidate in the race is Bernie Sanders with 24%. But that 6-point lead is even higher in the early states. Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, and Nevada, he's got a lead of about 34 to 26. He's got more like an 8-point lead there. Also important for Joe Biden, you've got 21, 22 candidates in the race right now. Joe Biden is the number 1 choice for 30% of registered Democrats, but he's the number 2 choice for basically everybody. For supporters of Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, and others, Joe Biden is the number 2 pick. So if it comes down to it and people have to pick and some of their number 1 candidates fall out, Joe Biden right now is poised to pick up all of those votes. The coalition right now is older, it's more racially diverse, and it's more likely to identify as moderate. You might be surprised by that. I think a lot of people on the left want to pretend that Bernie Sanders has the racially diverse coalition, that Bernie Sanders is bringing in all these more radical people who are less moderate, less racist, less old white guys than Joe Biden. That's not true. Joe Biden has the more racially diverse coalition. The only downside for Joe Biden right now is that his net favorability has taken a 5-point hit since January. So in January was the first time stories came out that he might run. His net favorability is down. Now 40% of Democrat likely voters have a positive view of him. That's about the same as Bernie Sanders. And only 14% have a negative view of him. So the numbers are really strong. However, you got to remember, Hillary Clinton had really good approval numbers too before she got in the race. Hillary Clinton was the inevitable candidate, inevitable nominee, inevitable future president before she got into the race. And then those approval ratings took a massive hit once she got in. So what's going to be more telling is how those numbers look a week from now or 2 weeks from now. So how did Joe Biden open up his campaign? He aired about a 3.5-minute or so campaign announcement. This is the very beginning of the announcement. This is the very first tone that he wants to set for his campaign.
Charlottesville, Virginia is home to the author of one of the great documents in human history. We know it by heart. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. We've heard it so often, it's almost a cliche, but it's who we are. We haven't always lived up to these ideals. Jefferson himself didn't, but we have never before walked away from them. Charlottesville is also home to a defining moment for this nation in the last few years. It was there on August of 2017 we saw Klansmen and white supremacists and neo-Nazis come out in the open. Their crazed faces, illuminated by torches, veins bulging and bearing the fangs of racism, chanting the same anti-Semitic bile heard across Europe in the 30s.
That's the opening. Same bile heard again across Europe in the 30s. Anti-Semitic bile. Donald Trump is a Nazi. That's the campaign. That's Joe Biden's opening salvo. Donald Trump is a Nazi, therefore elect me. Donald Trump is a Nazi. The same people who marched for him marched for Hitler in the 1930s. Never mind, by the way, that the State of Israel named a train station at the Wailing Wall after him. Never mind, by the way, that Israel is about to name a town after Donald Trump. Benjamin Netanyahu said that just the other day. Never mind any of that. Never mind that this president is the most pro-Israel president in the history of this country. Never mind that his daughter is a convert to Judaism. Never mind that his son-in-law, who's a senior advisor, convert to Judaism, or is it rather a Jew himself. No, never mind that. Donald Trump is a Nazi. That's the opening salvo. Okay, he's taken a strong punch. The problem with this line, he makes it even more explicit. So he opens up on Charlottesville, the dark, the torches. This is what we heard in the 30s. Then he goes for the jugular and explicitly ties Donald Trump to neo-Nazis and white supremacists.
And that's when we heard the words of the President of the United States that stunned the world and shocked the conscience of this nation. He said there were, quote, some very fine people on both sides. Very fine people on both sides? With those words, the President of the United States assigned a moral equivalence between those spreading hate and those with the courage to stand against it.
That is not true. That did not happen. Donald Trump did not say that there were fine people among the neo-Nazis and white nationalists and white supremacists. That did not happen. This is one of the most pernicious lies propagated by the fake news mainstream media over the last 2 years. I know that you think it happened. I know, I sort of thought it happened too, because I saw the clips that were being played, and then I heard the mainstream media people in their ties and their suits and their serious faces. So I thought also that Donald Trump called white nationalists and neo-Nazis fine people in Charlottesville. That is simply a mass delusion propagated by the mainstream media. Not only did Donald Trump not call white nationalists and neo-Nazis very fine people at Charlottesville, he explicitly condemned them in the same paragraph when he was using the phrase very fine people. Here is the cut that nobody in the mainstream media is willing to show you.
They showed up in Charlottesville to protest. Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as you, and you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You're changing history, you're changing culture, and you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly. Now, in the other group also, you had some fine people, but you also had troublemakers, and you see them come with the black outfits and with the helmets and with the baseball bats. You had a lot of bad people in the other group too.
This is objectively true. It is true that there are some race-obsessed activists on the right. Donald Trump explicitly condemned them. It's also true that Antifa exists on the left, and they wear their masks and they physically assault people. Happened to me. Happens to a lot of speakers all around the country who are conservative. Happens to a lot of conservative activists. He never, ever, not once, referred to neo-Nazis and white nationalists as fine people. Now, it's a good attack. It's completely dishonest. It's a total abject lie. But it's been a good attack for 2 years. Think about the kind of stony, cynical dishonesty it takes, not just to utter that line, not just to rehash that attack, but to open your presidential campaign on a lie, to define your presidential campaign by a race-hustling, cynical lie. That's Joe Biden. Oh, nice old Joe Biden. Joe Biden's so genuine. Joe Biden's, what you see is what you get is Joe Biden. No. He's a man who has worked in politics for his entire life. He's been very successful in politics. He's been able to maintain power for a very long time. He is a jaded, cynical, lying, race-hustling politician. That's his MO. That's what he does. He did it to Mitt Romney in 2012.
He's going to let the big banks once again write their own rules. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains.
Going to put you all back in chains. Mitt Romney is going to put you all back in chains. By the way, most people in that audience were black. I assume you knew that, just judging by his rhetoric. They're going to put you all back in chains. Joe Biden did this to Mitt Romney. He did it to Mitt Romney in 2012. He did it to Donald Trump in 2016, or 2020 now. He'll do it to you. If you ever run for office against Joe Biden, he'll call you a neo-Nazi, racist, slaver, bigot. He'll do it because he's totally dishonest. The guy is nothing. The guy's just a big walking simper, like a giant set of teeth. You know those big, giant white teeth that look about as artificial as teeth can possibly look? That's Joe Biden. That's why the attack on him, that he kisses people on the forehead and gives them shoulder rubs, that's why that attack was never going to work, is that's not some secret facet of Joe Biden's political career. That's the entirety of his political career. He's just a used car salesman. He just walks around and says, hey, I love you. I love you. I'm so genuine. I really care about you. I will say anything you need me to say to get your vote. I'm Joe Biden. I'm really concerned. I really like you. That's his whole career. That's all we expect from him. Now, this is ironic. It's ironic that he's such a race hustler because Joe Biden made one of the most famously racial comments about Barack Obama that anybody has made, much more than any Republican has made at the presidential level. He said, quote, while they were running in 2008, I mean, you got the first mainstream African-American who is articulate and bright and clean and a nice-looking guy. I mean, that's storybook, man. Joe Biden called Barack Obama the first African-American ever, I guess, who is articulate and bright and clean and a nice-looking guy. Because I guess according to Joe Biden, most black people are inarticulate, stupid, dirty, and ugly. That's what he said. The first mainstream African-American who's articulate, bright, clean, and nice-looking. Because all those other African-Americans are inarticulate, dumb, dirty, and ugly, according to Joe Biden. Storybook. That's storybook, according to Joe Biden. So how's the kickoff? Basically a good start. It's a good start, and coming out this way with the Charlottesville and Trump's a Nazi, even though it's completely a lie, 100% made up BS, it's a good first punch because he's attacking really hard. And the left is so wound up in their hatred of Trump, they want to see someone be a fighter. This was one of the lines about Donald Trump in 2016. At least he's a fighter. At least he punches. The downside for Joe Biden is he's launching his campaign on an attack ad. And that doesn't usually work. When you're running for office, you cannot just tell people not to vote for the other person. Attack ads work, negative ads work, but you can't only offer that. You have to offer something positive. You have to give people a reason to vote for you. Because if Joe Biden is framing this entire campaign around Donald Trump, if the only question in this campaign is Donald Trump, it's not Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. It's just, is Donald Trump good or is Donald Trump bad? Donald Trump's going to win. Because it's all about Donald Trump. It's not about you. Who are you? Who's Joe Biden? What do you do? You're that guy who dropped out of the race in 1988 because you were a plagiarist? Is that was you? You're the guy who lost in 2008? You're a loser? Who's Joe Biden? You're the guy who was a punchline during the Obama administration? That's you. You're the guy who smells people's hair? Who is Joe Biden? What does Joe Biden stand for? Nothing, because he's a walking simper. Nothing, because he's just a giant set of dentures with legs on it that goes around and smells girls' hair with a little nose on top of the dentures. That's Joe Biden. Now, it's even worse for him because he's launching an explicitly negative campaign when he's got 21 opponents in the Democrat Party. So he's running against Trump. He's showing he can take a swing at Trump. Okay, we all agree. Yeah, Trump's terrible. We hate Trump. Why would we choose you over the 21 other people who are offering us a positive message? What he's hoping, what he thinks is going to happen is because he has the highest name recognition of anybody in the race, he thinks that he doesn't have to offer a positive message for himself. He thinks he can ride name recognition and slickness all the way to the nomination. That's not going to work. It might work against people like Pete Buttigieg or against people like Kamala Harris who have relatively lower name recognition. It's not going to work against Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders was almost the 2016 Democrat nominee. Bernie Sanders is a well-known national figure. He has nearly 100% name recognition. Joe Biden can't just ride, we hate Trump, we want an alternative, the only alternative we've ever heard of is Joe Biden, therefore we'll nominate Joe Biden. We've heard of Bernie Sanders. Forget all the other candidates. We've heard of Bernie. That line of strategy is not going to work against Bernie Sanders. Now, of course, Donald Trump comes out swinging against Joe Biden. Donald Trump is not one to back away from a fight. He answers basically anybody who's ever said anything negative about him. So here's his attack. Welcome to the race, Sleepy Joe. I only hope you have the intelligence, long in doubt, to wage a successful primary campaign. It will be nasty. You will be dealing with people who truly have some very sick and demented ideas. But if you make it, I will see you at the starting gate. His way with words is poetic. So he comes out, a lot of this tweet I like. I like that he's calling all of the Democrats sick and demented people, which they are. I like that he's questioning Joe Biden's intelligence. This is a good attack line against Joe Biden because Joe Biden is not very smart. He did very poorly, went to a low-ranked law school and didn't do very well in his class. He has just been a politician his whole life. Intelligence is not a prerequisite for politics. Actually, it's a hindrance in politics. He's totally gaffe-prone. He just isn't very smart. So I think that's a pretty good line of attack. I like the idea. It says, I'll see you at the starting gate. It's reminding people, Joe Biden, you got to get through this primary first. You're pretending you're running against me. You got to get through 21 other Democrats. The only thing I question is Sleepy Joe. Far be it from me to question the nickname master of the world, Donald Trump, the guy who always seems to come up with these solid nicknames. And why are the nicknames solid? Crooked Hillary, Little Marco, Lion Ted, all of the others. The reason they work is because they speak to some visual aspect of the candidate. So in the case of Ted Cruz is not a liar. Ted Cruz is an extraordinarily honest politician, but he kind of has that look. He has that look of a sort of politician. Donald Trump zoomed in on that and he called him a liar, and it worked for the primary campaign. Marco Rubio, I guess relatively, he's not very tall, so okay, he goes after that. Crooked Hillary. Crooked Hillary was his best one because Crooked Hillary is crooked. It speaks to something that is really negative, that is really unlikable, that is really unattractive, and it's totally credible in her. And she also looks crooked. Sleepy Joe, I don't know about. The point he's trying to make is that Donald Trump has very high energy. Joe Biden has lower energy, which is true. Donald Trump doesn't appear to be his age, and Joe Biden seems like an old man. It's kind of the argument that he made about Jeb Bush. He's basically saying it's low energy Joe. The other advantage that Sleepy has is that it rhymes with creepy. So Creepy Joe Biden has been a nickname for years now, and he's sort of referring to that, but in an implicit way. Okay, that's fine. Still, it's a little bit weak sauce. Nobody's going to not vote for a man because he's a little sleepy. Frankly, after all the tumult, all of the craziness in politics of the last 2 years, people might want a sleepy candidate. It does often seem to be the case that presidents are the opposite of the presidents who came before them. So you have Ronald Reagan. You start out with Ronald Reagan. Start out with Jimmy Carter. I mean, you could take this back however far. You got Jimmy Carter. He's this weak guy, timid, pulling away from the world. He's not very good on camera. He doesn't seem very strong. Then you get Ronald Reagan. You get a movie star who says, I've outlawed the Soviet Union, the bombs drop in 5 minutes. Ronald Reagan, the day he gets into office, the hostages are released from Iran. Big movement conservative guy. Then after Reagan, you get George H.W. Bush. He's the establishment wing. He's the Ivy League guy. He's the deep state guy. He's the quiet, reserved New England. Okay. Then after him, this totally upright man, you get Bill Clinton, just a degenerate from the South, a derelict who was using his secretary as a human humidor in the Oval Office. Then after Bill Clinton, you get George W. Bush. Good old boy, Christian values. My favorite philosopher is Jesus Christ because he changed my heart. You get that guy. He ran on restoring dignity to the Oval Office. After George W. Bush, who in his later years was viewed as a cowboy, reckless, going in, American exceptionalism, spreading democracy throughout the whole world, you get Barack Obama. Barack Obama won that primary because he voted against the Iraq War, unlike Hillary Clinton. So you get Barack Obama. He's so much better spoken. He is less prone to rhetorical gaffes. He says we're going to pull away from spreading democracy throughout the world. He is a liberal. He apologizes for American exceptionalism. He's the opposite of a cowboy. And then after Obama, you get Trump. So the question is, can you run against a candidate because he's totally different from you? I don't think that's a very good strategy. Now, President Trump is known to shop different taglines, different nicknames, until he comes up with a good one. I don't think Sleepy Joe is going to be the one that we should land on. I think we've got to keep workshopping this. He tried this with Hillary. First it was No Stamina Hillary, a few other Hillary names. Then he landed on Crooked, which was way better. I think we need to keep workshopping Sleepy Joe and keep going after him. We got a lot more to get to, but we've got to say goodbye to Facebook and YouTube. And Another Kingdom fans. Andrew Klavan's book, based on the popular series, is out now. It is getting rave reviews. And I got to tell you, the audiobook of Another Kingdom is one of the greatest performances of literature I've ever heard. Whoever did that audiobook deserves an Oscar for it, frankly. Go over there, get the audiobook, or you can get the physical book. If you haven't picked up a copy, go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble and order one. Trust me, it's fantastic, and you will be glad that you did. We will say goodbye to Facebook and YouTube. $10 a month, $100 for an annual membership. You get me, you get the Andrew Klavan Show, you get the Ben Shapiro Show, you get the Matt Walsh Show, you get to ask questions in the mailbag coming right up, you get to ask questions backstage, you get Another Kingdom podcast, you get the Leftist Tears Tumblr. 21, 22 Democrat candidates in the race, only going to get crazier. You are going to need the Tumblr. Go to dailywire.com. We'll be right back.